Hospital porters, pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Hapanwo TV. Well, it's happened. Yes, I did watch it. I stayed up all night and watched the unveiling of the famous Roswell slides. I bought my ticket on the live stream, and I just opened the browser, and it was there, and it was just like being there in the audience. People have been asking me to talk about this subject. They're asking me to make a statement about what I think, and I'm going to do that now. First of all, I'll just describe what it was like. The live stream, it started just before the event, and you could see people walking in. A couple of them I think I recognised. The stage was like set up with this huge screen, like I was saying, all bells and whistles, Olympic opening ceremony stuff, and there was a settee and a couple of armchairs for the various people involved. And Jaime, my son, came on and he introduced it and he spoke. He did most of the talking. Unfortunately, he spoke mostly in Spanish, a language I can't speak, which made it difficult. So the dialogue, the majority of the dialogue was in Spanish. Although when Tom Carey, Don Schmidt, Adam Dew, the various other guys came up to the podium to speak, they were of course speaking in English. And then the screen lit up with these big slides. The slides, the pictures I've been showing you in their full, high quality, high definition glory. And I screen capped them the moment I saw them, and I copied this. I've still got the screen cap with me. In fact, what you saw at the beginning of this film in the titles was actually a high quality version of the slides. But I'll show you the screen, the actual which was released. Sorry, which was released by the researchers, the Roswell slides team. But I will show you the screen cap I took at the time now. So there it is. Now, I was sitting, basically I was in front of my computer, but I was on Facebook, and what I was doing, I was thinking about doing a hangout on Google Plus, but I thought, no way. But I did, we did have like an email group on Facebook where I was talking with my friends the whole night, and we had a few drinks in. I had some drink, and I did drink that bottle of whiskey. I didn't drink all of it, but I drank some of it. I had some gin and tonic as well, things like that. So it was fun and enjoyable. Although, of course, come the early hours, the thing about it is, like I said, it started at 11:30 in the evening, our time, 5:30 Mexico time. It was supposed to be a 4-hour show. It went on. It was still going about 5 o'clock, and I was sort of like I fell asleep about 5 o'clock, and the others did at about the same time. So we all missed the last part of the show, which means we missed the holographic aliens walking on stage. And we missed Richard Dolan's speech. There's no recording currently available of the proceedings, although hopefully one will become available. But there could be reasons why it won't become available ever, and I will go into those reasons now. But first of all, let's just have a look at some of the coverage from other perspectives. Now, as you can see, the Daily Mail actually covered it after the event, and they didn't say anything really very original about it. They just echoed what was being said in the ufological community. Because, of course, as soon as the slides came out, the word went out, it's a mummy. And they basically, the skeptics or the doubters, because not all of them are actual skeptics, people like Philip Mantle and Kevin Randall, said that this is just a mummy. They said that even before when they saw the fuzzy preview image. This full clarity image, it went out even more. This is just a mummy. This is just a mummy. And of course, it does look like that. In fact, it looks like something that could be produced by the Inca culture from many centuries ago. They used to preserve bodies by mummifying them, drying them out. Through various strange processes, they could actually preserve the body. And of course, Egypt as well did that. So it could have been a creature, a mummy brought over from Egypt. Now, the photograph is interesting in the sense that we have you can see on the other side of the glass case, which contains the being, you see a woman standing there wearing a royal blue dress. This is interesting. The dress is actually fits in with the fashions at the time, which was the 1940s. No one's questioning now whether these photos were taken in the 1940s or not. I mean, it's now people. I think everyone's accepted that these are genuine 1940s photos. That's not the point anymore. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether they're. What's more important is, what do they show? Everyone's happy with them being original 1940s photos taken by the Rays or someone else and added to the Rays collection. It's just, what do they show? That's what counts. But the presence of a human figure does indicate, it gives us a sense of scale. So we know more or less how big this thing is. And we know it's about 3 feet tall or so because of the woman standing beside the case. Now, what's interesting about this is that if you notice something about it, do you see there's like a white placard attached to the glass case? Have a look and you'll see it. It's a white placard just on near the legs of the creature. Now that is the sort of thing where in a museum they would write something on there to tell you what the creature is. Now it's blanked out to tell you what it is. It would be like a museum exhibit. There'd be a bit of information about the exhibit. It's blanked out, which is strange because we were told that that placard was visible, but it was illegible. Even Dave Rudiak couldn't make out the words. Now, compare this picture from the Daily Mail. This is the picture that was released by the team with another picture that they released, and this one here. Now, this here is the second slide, and they were very reluctant to release this. Perhaps because you can actually now see that there is some writing on that placard attached to the case, and you can see it's actually quite fairly clear. You could almost make out a couple of the words with the naked eye, and if you zoom in on it, surely it shouldn't be a problem for Dave Rudiak to decipher those words, and I'm going to come back to that later because that's very important. Now, this is Nick Redfern, paranormal researcher, interesting chap, written some good books. Now, he's made a very bold statement. He thinks he even knows where the photograph of the Roswell slides were taken, and he says they were taken in something called the $1 Million Museum, which is in White City, New Mexico, which is interesting because we know that the Rays have spent time in New Mexico, hence their association with Roswell and the idea that this was an alien. The museum is now closed, but its exhibits are still around. I mean, they've been distributed to other museums since those days. But if we assume that the photograph was actually taken in the 1940s, but it was famous for its oddities. It contained a lot of mummies. And these mummies were a bit of a curiosity, and it may actually be possible to actually trace that exhibit. It may still be on display somewhere in some museum now today, and it may be in storage somewhere, and we may actually be able to find it if it is indeed a mummy and not an alien. So interesting. So that's an interesting assertion there by Nick Redfern. I mean, he does know about these things because he spends a lot of time going through. He's into cryptozoology and things like that as well. So, locating bodies and things like that, dead bodies and creepy museum artifacts, is right up his street. So, good luck to him. I mean, if he can identify this actual artifact itself, we may actually be able to go and photograph it and compare it with the one in the Roswell slide. It probably won't have changed much because these mummies, it lasted for centuries or millennia since it was mummified in Egypt or wherever, or South America. So it's probably in pretty good condition to this day. Be interested to see it. So good luck with that, Nick. Now this is what one commentator has said on UFO Chronicles. Here we have a picture of a child mummy that was made during Roman times. And as you can see, it has a big hole on its abdomen. And this hole was basically used during post-mortem removal of the organs, which was part of the mummification process. And this commentator claims to have seen the same thing on the Roswell slide picture, meaning that the Roswell slide being is a mummy. The problem is, for these mummies boys, as I've called them, I'll be saying more about this, okay? I'm not saying that they're wrong, okay, in their hypothesis. But you can't actually see very clearly on the Roswell slide photo exactly what whether that actually is a hole in the abdomen, which was like the one in the other photo. It may be something else. It may be a patch of shade. It's hard to tell. This photo is not as well lit as the other ones in the Hilda and Bernard Ray's collection. This maybe it wasn't taken by the Rays. Maybe that's Hilda Ray in the blue dress standing beside the case, and she got somebody else to take the photo, because it's not as good as, it's not up to her usual standard. But it could be just, like I say, a patch of shadow where the light didn't reach. It's still, it's as I said, I'm not saying I don't believe the mummy theory, and I'm going to be talking more about that in a minute. Now this is the Daily Mirror, which covered it afterwards, and this is really, this is a bit over the top. Roswell slides unveiled. UFO fans left heartbroken by Area 51 alien photo unveiling, which was an epic fail. Well, that's rather patronising. Firstly, we're not UFO fans. A fan is something, you're a fan of a football team or something. No, we're researchers and commentators, and we treat it as a very, very serious intellectual issue. So we'll have less of that fan stuff, please. And we weren't heartbroken. As I said, now this is again, they make some points here, which I suppose are fair enough, and they're not that much different from the other media. I won't go into them in detail at all, but basically, it just quotes some of the people, like Nick Pope said he was underwhelmed, which is kind of what I expected. I mean, I don't think Nick has ever been a particular supporter of this event, and so have many others. I mean, if you remember me talking about it, was it Kevin Randall or who was it who said it was like a ticking time bomb? It was Robert Hastings. Yeah, he had a little countdown clock on his article saying, tick, 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 countdown to the awful impending fiasco of the Roswell slide. So, as I explained last week, why I think the people were, why that was the case. All right, why people had that attitude. It was basically because they were anticipating what was to come. And I'm going to say more about that later in a minute. I'm going to say more about my own feelings and how I felt about getting involved in a second. Now, Open Minds TV have done a little bit more research in the area of Nick Redfern, and they think they might have identified the mummy itself. And they've said that it was actually they claim that it was actually one that was found in Thebes in 1856, and it was kept at the Wistar Institute in Philadelphia before being transferred to the National Museum of Natural History in 1958, which I suppose, so that would mean that it was at the Wistar Institute in the 1940s, and that must be where the photograph was taken. There is an old black and white photo of this mummy, which I'll post here, which I've posted here. It's taken from a different angle, and obviously the background is different. There's it's like there's things beside it, so it was obviously not in the same display case, so people could walk around to the other side. So this is not in the same area where the Roswell slide photo was taken. But the claim is that this is the same mummy that was spotted by. This is the same mummy that was spotted by whoever took the photograph of the Roswell slide. I don't know if that's true or not. But it's again, that could be confirmed if the exhibit is still around. That can be checked out. What's interesting as well is that one of the photographs in the Ray's collection, not the alien ones, in the main collection, shows a woman in a blue skirt standing beside, in a museum, in some kind of museum, standing beside a display case within which is a large model of an ocean liner. And it's possible that this is the same woman. She appears to be wearing the same clothes. In the Roswell slide, you can't see her face. You could just see her basically from her waist down, or from the chest down. But it does look similar. So that's another possibility. Not sure. Again, this is speculative, but it can be confirmed or denied. I mean, at the moment, there's attempts going around to identify the people in the Ray's photographs. We know there's some famous people in there, but there's lots of others as well. Interestingly, I can't actually show you some of the photographs I'm talking about because Slidebox Media are getting itchy over copyright. If you go to Open Minds TV, they've got one there. Presumably they've been given permission. But have a look quickly, because it'll probably get taken down the way things are going at the moment. Because, as I said, the Roswell, the slide box people, the Roswell researchers, are digging their heels in. And I'll say more about that in a minute. Now, obviously, the blame has fallen on Jaime Maussan. Jaime has basically, he's in a bit of a state at the moment, I imagine. He really is. Of course, the skeptics are saying it's a money-making scam, and that's all there is to it. But Jaime has said he's lost about £100,000 on the event. Apparently, there were 6,000 people in the auditorium, so it was not completely packed. It wasn't completely packed out. A few thousand watching on the internet, including me. And he says, "I never did it for the money. I knew I was going to lose cash even before the start of the event, but I don't care." That's the thing. I mean, Jaime is somebody who I sort of know. I've had email conversations with him. I think he's a genuine guy. I don't think he would participate in any deliberate fraud. Put it that way. I really think that's beyond him. But was he duped by somebody else? That's the question. However, some commentators have been absolutely brutal about him. Michael S. Heiser has said Jaime Maussan should no longer be considered a reliable researcher in ufology. To be honest, I thought for some years now that he's amazingly... Sorry, this is not me talking, all right? This is Heiser talking. Jaime Maussan should no longer be considered a reliable researcher in ufology. To be honest, I thought for some years now that he's amazingly gullible. If you didn't think he jumped the shark before, he's in orbit now. Ditto the above for anyone who promoted this discovery. You might think it harsh, but deal with it. This is precisely the sort of thing that gives serious researchers in the strangeness field and others a black eye. People who are this gullible and so prone to uncritical thinking shouldn't be given any airtime for their pseudo-research. People who donated money to this cause ought to contact lawyers and sue. Maybe if that happened, we'd see less of this BS. Gosh, I wonder if Edgar Mitchell is looking for a TV camera now. He was an astronaut, you know. What's the point? Ed Mitchell actually did appear on Skype. He wasn't actually at the event live. Not everyone could get there because it was in Mexico. But I think, like I said, I think that's a bit over the top. I don't want to judge people. I don't want to condemn anyone. All right, and as you probably guessed by now, I am of this opinion, and I'll say more about that. But I am of the opinion that this actually is a mummy, and recently there's been some more evidence to suggest, some very definitive evidence to suggest that. Now, one of the most contentious people in this whole affair has been Richard Dolan, and I've spoken in the previous films about Richard's position and about the decision he took to go to Mexico and to attend the event at the National Auditorium of Mexico. He came under a lot of criticism when people like Kevin Randall were saying what they were saying. Stanton Friedman stayed away. Dolan decided to go, and at the time I think he made the right decision. And obviously with hindsight maybe it's different, but then you can always second guess anything with hindsight, can't you? But Richard Dolan has made a comment since appearing at the show, and he said that it has been a day. I won't do his voice. It has been a day. I have to do his voice a bit, so you know it's not me talking. It has been a day since the event in Mexico City relating to the so-called Roswell slides. Since there seems to be a great deal of misinformation spreading about them at the event, I would like to help clarify a few things. I will start by saying that although I do not yet have a firm position on the slides, I think they are interesting and worthy of continued investigation by qualified individuals. I do not think any of this is a hoax. Most striking in all this are the critics. There have been a number of remarks that the body is certainly a mummy, B, a child mummy, C, a deformed mummy, and a model. There have been other claims, but these seem to be the main ones. Such people, all of them English speakers, obviously did not acquaint themselves with a detailed and technically proficient treatment of these very questions by the three scientists who were featured last night, Jose Benitez, Dr. Luis Antonio de Alba Galandino, and Richard Doby. The first of those two spoke. The first two of these speak Spanish, and I understand there have been many glitches at the time with the translation on the live stream. That's true, actually, yeah. However, Richard Doby's Skype interview was in English and extremely easy to follow. The Spanish speakers were simply outstanding, and I was able to listen via translation. All of these gentlemen spoke in detail and with deep analysis about why that body was not a human being. I'm not going to repeat their reasons here, but I have been assured that the website is being constructed right now that will feature full translations of their analysis in text form. Incidentally, in addition to these three individuals, there was some excellent video testimony presented from the other professionals relating to the physical properties of the slides. I'm not going to read all this, but he goes on to say he doesn't like the negativity we're seeing in the debate, and that is a point actually, because there has been some, like I predicted, and like we could almost expect this to happen. It's got quite heated. The naysayers, who may be right, are in fact probably are right, are really laying into some people. Now I think Richard Dolan actually has done. I think he's done something very good. I think he kept his mind open. He kept his mind open enough to actually attend, just in case it was real. But he didn't put himself in a firm position where he was supporting the slides. And I think that is the sensible thing to do. That's the skeptic with a C thing to do, not the skeptic with a K. And he says, he talks about lazy commentators chiming in without having acquainted himself with the analysis. Well, the thing about it is this is a problem, because I mean, like I said, I fell asleep during the last bit and I didn't get to see much of it. But they did have scientists on there who were like speaking in Spanish and showing very detailed pictures on screen of their studies of the mummy. So it looks like the alien, whatever it is, and they said it was not a mummy. So he talks basically. He makes the same points in this particular statement that he made previously, and I think he's right. I think he was very brave actually to stand up again in the face of all this sort of aggravation, and I don't think he is in a place where he's lost anything. He's not lost out, and he also makes the point that Jaime has not made. No one's made any money off this. Apparently, this is what Jaime said, and this is what Richard has said as well. He said that it was quite right for them to charge the event. Research costs money. Jaime and Adam did not want to toss the slides out. So yeah, I mean, it's maybe that's a valid point that Richard's made as well. But you know, respect to the guy. I think he went there. He stood on stage. He put himself in a position where he risked being ridiculed if it all went wrong, and it turned out to be fake. But he had the imagination and idealism to think, well, what if it is real? What if these are real aliens? Because if they are, and he is not, and he's not there, he'll be kicking himself. He'll be totally kicking himself. It's a great adventure. This whole slides business was a great adventure. I mean, you had a choice. You know, you could get on the ship, go out to sea, and risk it sinking with you on it. Alternatively, that ship might sail to a beautiful new world, and you will be left standing on the quay, looking destitute and not being able to go with it. That's the choice. See, it's a risk. Richard chose to take that risk. Well done to him. Now, one thing that has really tainted this entire debate has been polarization. You're either with the slides, you're a blind, dedicated believer in them and completely devoid of rationality, or you're a skeptic with a K, and you think that they're a load of rubbish before you've even seen them. And this polarization goes right back to when this saga began at the American University last year, when Tom Kerry made this announcement on stage. Now, some people I think have had, like I said, Richard Dolan has had a much more healthy attitude to this. But so has Whitley Strieber, who was a contactee and abductee who wrote a book about his experiences. And he couldn't go because his wife was sick, but he talks about what he calls the Roswell video, which is the alien autopsy film. And he describes how he was contacted by Ray Santilli to write a book about the film, and he wasn't sent any of the real film. So this is interesting. Whitley I think he still thinks that the alien autopsy is real. Well, I think it is most definitely not. But there could be some parallels here, which I will mention. And I spoke about in the last film about how the 5th of May 2015 was the 20th anniversary of the release of the Alien Autopsy film. But what's interesting here is that Whitley says, even if the slides are indisputably authentic, some odd level of ambiguity will enter the picture at some point. And I think he's right there. But he feels, I think he sounds like he's enjoying this adventure. He's enjoying it as an adventure. He said, let the debate begin. I can assure you of one thing. Both sides will be both right and wrong at the same time, about the same issues. If the Roswell video is fake, why the anatomically correct six-fingered hands? If the new slide is real, what happened to the top half of that woman? Or dare we ask? I love labyrinths. Fortunately, you should too, as we live in one. It's called reality, unless, of course, that is a hologram. This is what Whitley wrote on May the 6th. I don't know if he's still thinking that now, but I do admire people who have that sense, that little tiniest bit of vision. As I said, there's been too many noisy negativists involved in this, and I think even if they've been proved right, and maybe they have actually, there's a bit of Schadenfreude going on. They're almost sort of gloating about it, and I don't like that. And they're being very scornful towards people who disagree with them. I mean, one woman I know who's a well-known female ufologist, she had to block one of these guys on her Facebook yesterday because he was basically going through her entire page, just writing things like bullshit, utter crap on just underneath every post she made about the slides. That's it. No real explanation. It's just things like that. And I thought that was out of order. And this is a very nice lady. She's a very sweet lady. And I don't think you should go around abusing people on the internet, especially women. I think it's out of order. So that's an example of what I'm talking about. So well done, Whitley Strieber, for that. Now I think this is a prime example of what I'm talking about when I discuss the noisy negativists. And what I mean by it being a prime example is that the point is valid, even although the negativists in this case are correct. And this is actually James Carrion, who I've not heard of before actually, but he says this. He's got a website called followthemagicthread.blogspot.com, and this is just a copy on UFO Chronicles. The outcry from the UFO community over the new Deflategate, the unveiling of the Roswell Deflategate. I've not heard that one before. Sorry. The unveiling of the Roswell slides just accentuates what's wrong at the heart of ufology today. Namely, that ufology is run by UFO perps. That's P-E-R-P-S. Not perpetrators in the criminal sense, but perpetuators in the mythological sense. While there are many in the community who have a genuine interest in truth, there are far more who have a vested interest in perpetuating myth, whether it be those who frequent the UFO talk circuit, self-promoting their books and wares, or the UFO organizations and clubs that simply want to keep their membership doors open. Money may be the lead motivation, but ego and do anything for my beliefs motives do not trail far behind. UFO perps simply have no shame. They will lie and embellish with a face worthy of a professional poker player. They will make the most outlandish claims, and sadly a willing audience receives it as gospel. They will sell themselves as truth champions, many leaning on their former credentials as scientists, journalists, members of the military, or public servants, to give weight and credibility to their claims. But in the end, they have hitched themselves to a UFO bandwagon they hope never stops at truth. In a field that lacks a professional code of ethics, standards of investigation and evidence, and no clear leadership focused on weeding out myths, hoaxes, self-promoters, charlatans, and human deception specialists, the sad effect is a culture where the UFO perps have become the dominant voice. And as long as the wider community endures these shameful, perpetuating sideshows, the truth of the UFO phenomenon will slip further away. As long as UFO conferences are attended, books are purchased, and pay-per-view events are sold, UFO perps will flourish. And as long as accountability is not demanded, the perps will continue to push UFO mythology, adding layer upon layer to the UFO dunghill. While the UFO mythology is piled fast and deep, the truth remains hidden within, as elusive and undiscoverable as it has been since the dawn of the modern UFO era. If you have an interest in the UFO subject that is more than cursory, and a desire to look deeper into the subject, you will at some point on your journey down this long and dark road have to ask yourself, do I want to solve this mystery, or do I want to perpetuate it? Be careful though. Many who started the journey with good intentions have become intoxicated with its mystery once on the bandwagon. And when the allure of that mystery becomes more enticing than solving the mystery, you will find you have become a UFO perp. Right, that actually I think is way over the top. It's totally unfair. Now, he talks about, he says here, he says ufology is run by these perps. That's what he said. And he says they now outnumber Sirius. He says there are far more who have a vested interest in perpetuating the myth. Not fair. This is I think, is an excessive and rather grotesque, actually, caricature of the people he's talking about. Now, the motivation of money. Let's start with that. If Jaime Maussan is correct, then he hasn't made any money off this. He's lost money. I say he didn't fill the auditorium, which I didn't realise. I had heard every ticket had been sold. He got a few thousand people online, and again he charged for that. But as Richard Dolan explained, you know, there's nothing wrong with charging for things. I think what's happening is he talks about the UFO dunghill. It's very, very a lot of. He sounds a bit like Mark Pilkington, actually. He sounds like an angry man who is perhaps hurt. I think maybe he is annoyed. He's angry by what has happened, and to be honest, it's fair enough that he is upset by this. I mean, I am too. But I think maybe he's seeing the whole. He's seeing this. He's throwing this into the context of the whole UFO community and seeing it in a much too negative light. So this, I think, is over the top. I mean, even if it turns out that he's right. In fact, he's factually right. All the people I've quoted, saying these derogatory things about the Roswell slides are correct. And the picture, the illustration is hilarious. This red curtain with the slides behind them, big unveiled. So, like I said, it's important to be rational, but you mustn't get your emotions carried away with you if something goes wrong. And I think something has gone wrong, very wrong indeed. Okay, now we come to the kicker. A new group has been formed since Tuesday called the Roswell Slides Research Group, and it is some guys here. Some of these names I'm familiar with, such as Isaac Coy, Paul Kimball, Chris Rotowski. These are Kurt Collins I've heard of. Some of these names are familiar. There's some others I'm not familiar with, but they're a group of people who have got together. It includes help from Nick Redfern, who's involved as well. And they basically come together to investigate what happened with those slides. And they've described themselves, they say here, sorry, here we are. The Roswell slides are images that a group of UFO promoters, including Anthony Brailia, Jaime Maussan, Adam Dew, Donald Schmitt, Tom Kerry, and Richard Dolan. They shouldn't include Richard Dolan there. He's not a promoter. They put forward as an event held on the 5th of May 2015 in Mexico City as proof positive of an extraterrestrial crash at Roswell in 1947. Again, that's not actually correct. So I'm going to have to read this out again in one of my voices so you know who's talking and who's not. So I'll start again. The Roswell slides are images that a group of UFO promoters, including Anthony Brailia, Jaime Maussan, Adam Dew, Donald Schmitt, Tom Kerry, and Richard Dolan, and as I said, they shouldn't include Richard Dolan, he's not a promoter, put forward at an event held on the 5th of May in Mexico City as proof positive of an extraterrestrial crash at Roswell in 1947. They have repeatedly said that the best experts they could find are examining the slides and determined that the slides were of an unearthly origin. Nothing could be further from the truth, as many skeptics have been saying since the first rough image of one of the slides was procured several months ago as a screen capture from a promotional video released by Jewel. The figure photographed is almost certainly a mummified body. Well, we can now remove the word almost from the aforementioned sentence. The key to solving the mystery was in the placard seen in the slides at the front of the body, a placard that the slides promoters assured everybody could not be deciphered even by extensive examination. And he refers to the Dr. David Rudiak, the man who, as I talked about in the last film, who may have deciphered the letter in General Ramey's hand. They took him to work on these slides. Now, what's interesting, as you can see, is that I spoke earlier when I talked about the Daily Mirror that the placard on the case, if it is a museum case, is blank. Yet in slide 2, which was not shown on Tuesday evening, it's actually, you can see writing on it. Now, this is what the Roswell slides did. I mean, because Dave Rudiak didn't say anything about that. None of the guys said anything about the slide with writing, that there was visible writing in one of the photos on that placard. Because the placard is what you would expect if it was a museum. It would have writing on it which says a few words about what is in the case. Gives the viewer a little bit of information. It took us just a few hours to prove otherwise. Once we received a high-resolution copy of one of the slides. Note, while our copy came from an inside source within the promoter's group, slides promoter Adam Dew has now released it as well. And here is basically what they've discovered. This is now, as I said, the Slidebox Media are a bit iffy on copyright, but well, I'm going to put it up anyway. And if they don't like it, well, then I'm afraid I think they've got something to hide, and they're being intellectually dishonest. So here it is. By using the commercially available Smart D-Blur, a member of our group was able to significantly clear up the blurred text. So they didn't even need Dave Rudiak and all his sophisticated method. They just used something called Smart D-Blur. Other members of the group helped narrow down the actual word. And the first line was the most clearly resolved. Mummified body of 2-year-old boy. Now, when I look at that, this is Ben talking now. I can actually see that. I mean, I'm just looking here, I can see mummified body of 2-year-old boy. Yeah, I can see that. There is no reasonable doubt that this is true and the correct text. The other 3 lines of the text are more difficult to decipher, but they seem to say something like, at the time of burial, the body was clothed in blank cotton shirt. Burial wrappings consisted of these small cotton blankets, loaned by a Mr. Blank of San Francisco, California. The entire effort only took a few hours, and quite different from the years of research claimed by the slide's promoters. In fact, that the promoters did not release proper high-resolution scans of the slides made our work more difficult. But in the end, it was still relatively easier to decipher the key parts of the image. The mystery is solved, the placard is solved, and so is the nature of the body. It was a boy from Earth. The question remains whether or not the slide's promoters have been deliberately deceiving the public in order to profit financially, or whether they were simply incompetent. Perhaps it's a mixture of both. Either way, their credibility as investigators and researchers has been destroyed. Right, well, that I came across this morning. This was only released last night. This is Ben talking again. Hang on a minute. When I saw this, I'm afraid that's it. It's over. This is just a mummy. And all my concerns, all my fears that I talked about in the previous films, and I talked about in the radio show, I don't know if you heard that, have been realised. And unfortunately, it is absolutely true that anyone involved with that now has is their credibility is going to suffer. Not Richard Dolan, I don't think. I think the accusations against him are unfair. But for the others, either, I mean, I don't think they lied necessarily. And as for profiting financially, it's, if Jaime Maussan is right, then they haven't made any money off it. But it's different. With Ray Santilli, it wasn't a problem because Ray Santilli was never involved in the UFO community. He was a businessman. He had no interest in UFOs at all. He just exploited the UFO myth in order to promote his video. He exploited it. So that's but the thing is, Kerry and Schmidt, Maussan, the others, they are members of the UFO community, the UFO researchers, and they have everything to lose that Santilli didn't. Now, I'm not judging those guys. Like I said, I think people have been unfair to Jaime and the others. I mean, but I do feel bad about this. I feel upset. This is the disaster, the apocalypse that I predicted, and I don't know if their careers will recover from this. Even if they're completely innocent of any duplicity, their careers will not recover. I mean, what I like to ask those guys is, right, we're hearing now from an independent organisation exactly what was written on that placard by the slides, on the slides. They very easily, within a couple of hours, using very simple software, they didn't even need Dave Rudiak, they deciphered what was on that placard. So my question to you is, why didn't you do that? Why have we had to wait till now, after that big bells and whistles shindig in Mexico, with all the hype surrounding it, all the fun being poked at us by skeptics, by the media? Those skeptics and those fun pokers are now all vindicated. So this could have been prevented by simply examining what was on that placard before bringing this all out as a big hoo-ha and a big event. I mean, maybe the guy who's wrote about the UFO perps, maybe he's got a point. Some of you are like that. Now, as I say, I'm not addressing any one individual here. I don't know who is responsible for this. But, I mean, I can't even begin to judge just yet. I mean, basically, the explosion has gone off. The demolition charges have gone bang. And we're at that moment where the building's just starting to teeter before it collapses into a huge heap. The true consequences of this debacle is we still can't even be imagined right now. I think maybe in the upcoming weeks and months, it'll all become apparent exactly what has happened here and what's going to happen to us and our research into this phenomenon as a result. But it was so easily preventable. It really was. Why wasn't it prevented? Now, I am going to respect the copyright of in this case, because I think it's wrong. I shouldn't actually be breaching copyright when they specifically ask you not to. And this particular website actually says at the bottom, all images and films, copyright Slidebox Media 2015. So I think it will be the other image, the one that you can see, is the one that was basically released. So that's not a problem. It's the one that was created by the Roswell Slides Research Group. The other slide is their original scan, so they say. Now, this is where the plot thickens. It takes yet another twist. The slideboxmedia.com. Slidebox Media is basically the organisation behind the whole Roswell thing, the whole Roswell Slides issue. They're now claiming that the Roswell Slides Research Group faked this revelation of the placard, which I've just been speaking about. It says here, the Roswell Slides Research Group faked fake placard. This is the photoshopped original that the group is claiming they worked from before they claimed deblurring. Okay, so this is an accusation of fraud on the part of the Slidebox media against the Roswell Slides Research Group. The Roswell Slides Research Group are the people trying to uncover the debunkers. Now, the original scan, I can describe it to you. It's much more indistinct. It does look like the words are the same shape and size, but they claim that the research group actually did not deblur or decipher the placard at all. What they did instead was create their own to give the false impression that this was a mummified body, rather than decipher what was actually on the real placard, on the real photograph. Now, what I'd say to Slidebox media is, in that case, you need to let us see the slide, let it be judged independently, and then we'll know. Because this accusation you're making is serious, and if it's found to be correct, then it changes everything. And the Roswell Slides Research Group then are discredited. So you've got nothing to lose by just letting everybody see the slide. So that's what I recommend you do. If Slidebox Media does not release that slide for independent investigation, then it looks to me as if this accusation they're making is a false one. It's up to them. The ball's in their court. Right, well, it's time to go through your comments again from the last video, Roswell Slides at Eve of Disclosure, and I'm just going to go through those. I want to thank every one of you for your comments, much appreciated. Orange Herbert 71 says, "Hey Ben, in the second image of the guy working at the PC, he's using a 3D software program which I use daily. He's probably putting together a model of what they think it looks like from the slides from the presentation on the 5th. That's true, Orange Herbert. I think that's exactly what they were doing. They were convinced that they had something with a pointed chin and not human. I don't know what's going to... See, I don't know what's... That was originally going to be a scene from the film Kodachrome, which Adam G was producing. I don't know whether that's actually going to be produced now, but the film, I know they have been making a film about it. We may see it, but really, it's... I don't want to say... What's the point of it now? Progforce Field says, I meant basically the flat earth theory, which has been talked about by the likes of Eric Dubay and Mark Sargent. It sounds ridiculous when you watch the vids. There is some compelling evidence that suggests we live on a flat plane enclosed by some type of dome. It's mad but interesting, especially the stuff about the apparent non-curvature of the earth, the way the horizon always rises to eye level. Anyway, thanks for your response, Ben. Now, I think this is because Progforce on a previous video, he or she had been talking about the flat earth and how I said I didn't agree. Anyway, I don't know what to say in response to that. I think I explained the reason why I don't think there is a flat earth. Orange Herberts again says, right, okay, hadn't got that for... Oh, it's for the film. Yeah, I think I addressed that in there. That's not a problem. Right, just 2 days ago, here we get the comments from people who actually who are aware of what's happened since then. Diebiz70 says, after seeing the slide today, I think they should be ashamed of themselves charging $20 for the live stream. It's obviously a mummified child, quite a pathetic hoax, and just a con. Well, it wasn't $20, it was $11, which is about £7. Some people told me that varied. But apart from that, you're absolutely right. No, it's obviously just a mummified child. I didn't know it was obviously just a mummified child until literally this morning, when I saw the actual placard decipherment. An outlaw in-law says, another red herring. Maybe Roswell was a cover-up for some exotic man like anti-gravity machinery. I am aware that when World War II was over, a lot of Nazi scientists ended up in America by Operation Paperclip in order for the scientists to share their findings and their research in exchange for protection. Could Roswell be that, and the whole E.T. Gray story are just a diversion from what really happened? No, outlaw in-law, I don't think it is. Some of the free energy and anti-gravity technology is indeed man-made. It actually can be traced back to the Industrial Revolution, as I explained in the previous film. But it doesn't explain it. It goes into this idea that you would somehow, that the UFO phenomenon is a myth created by the government to distract people away, to launder their more earthly intelligence operations. Now, I've been through this before.
I don't think that accounts for the entire phenomenon, even though there is a small amount of truth to it. Because in the 1970s and 80s, there's a guy called Bill Moore, a very famous UFO personality. He was recruited by the intelligence services to spread disinformation within the UFO world. But I mean, to draw somebody's attention towards something for the purpose of distracting it, deflecting it away, is a very risky gambit, and it could backfire in any number of ways. I don't think the powers that be want people focusing on the skies, whatever they're looking at, because sooner or later you're actually drawing. Someone's going to see what's really going on. It's better just to pretend it's not there. Look at Area 51. No one had heard of Area 51 before Bob Lazar. So why don't they just keep their mouth shut? TechPower.com says, the real question should be, if the governments of the world were to disclose UFO information, why would you believe them? Do you know that the easiest way to push a teenager in a particular direction, to first deny it to them? If you're looking for the truth about UFOs, look at who's denying you access to info and why. That's a good point. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily believe governments, and I think I explained in the previous video how I predict that if disclosure becomes inevitable, governments will come out and they will say, yeah, there are aliens, and they're evil aliens who want to destroy the world, so we have to unite and defend the planet. That will not only give them an excuse for global martial law and their new world order, but it'll get them off the hook. They'll say, well, look, we didn't tell you because these aliens are so bad. It's not our fault. We're good guys, really. You have to forgive us. So it's possible that governments will say all the aliens are bad, even if they're not. And I know some aliens actually do seem to be doing very destructive things, like the animal mutilations and various kinds of negative abduction experiences. But it's obvious not all of them are like that. Dazastar said, you may well ask the milkman his opinion rather than DeGrasse Tyson. The man's a first-class prick. Well, Daz, Tyson is actually one of the nicer skeptics. But, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't... He's still a skeptic. Or skeptic. He's always alright. But, the Bill. Good vid, Ben. That's taking care of my Sunday night. Well, glad you like it, Bill. Glad you enjoyed it. Richie3D said, Ben, I'm sure, like myself, you're disappointed in what was presented. Yeah, this is one that was posted 2 days ago, so this is after it came out. Take solace in a fellow UK person's of interests account. Nick Redfern, sobering and brilliant. And then he posts a link to the article which I showed you, what explained about Nick Redfern. So thanks, Richie. That's very true. Nick Redfern, he's a good guy. He sorted this out. Thrappleton Holmes B says, you still have my alien candle holder I gave you for Christmas 2 years ago. And it's in pretty damn good shape. This is the photo of the bottle of whiskey. Had the little alien thing in there. I've got a lot to tell you, Ben. Yeah, Thrappleton Holmes B is Heidi. And Heidi and I have kind of made up. We spoke on the phone yesterday, so those of you who were distressed at our falling out, you'll be glad to know that. So, yeah, me and Heidi, I think, will hopefully be friends again. Lord Oriel says, and now that the event is over, we can all appreciate those ridiculous slides of a mummy in a high res. I feel a strange and somewhat painful disconnect from ufology. Sure, the ridiculous factor can't get any worse in the public eye anyway, but it's a blow to our own community. Even Mitchell and Dolan got involved when they should have taken a few steps back from this circus. I'm just so disappointed in this field, and their sympathy for the hard-working researchers that take this seriously. Good going, Don. You're right, Lord Avriel, basically. I agree. Although I think at the time, with hindsight, you could say, well, Richard Dolan and Edgar Mitchell shouldn't have got involved, but they didn't know at the time. They did what they thought was right. And as I've explained, I think Richard Dolan is someone we should respect for what he did and how he handled himself during this affair. He's not planted his flag on that they were them being real. He just turned up because they might have been real. But yeah, I mean, it's the actual effects of this. Like I said earlier, it's hard to know exactly what's going to happen now, but it's bad anyway. It's very bad indeed. Martino Catalano, hello Martino. Yeah, sounds like no expense spared for this, Ben. I must admit, I'm stoked for this now. But like you say, with it being 11 PM our time tomorrow, I'll have a look Wednesday morning. Thanks, Martino. Yeah, I mean. I was, like I said, it has this subject. This subject has been an obsession for me. A lot of people have said, some of you guys have said, you're obsessed with this, Ben. And you're right, I am obsessed with it. I was, anyway. Not anymore. But yeah, I mean, he didn't want to sit up all night. I don't blame him. I mean, I was sort of like, it got really difficult to about 3 in the morning. I've not done shift work since I left being portering, and I'm not used to late nights. Luckily, I didn't have to work too early the next day because, well, I was saved by, that's a good point actually, because I was due to work at 8 AM the following morning, and I was saved, but it was a gardening job, so the weather, it started raining. It was raining the next morning, so I got out of it. I did have to work the next day, but not until 11:30, so I had a bit of a lie-in, and I needed it. 69 Phuket says, that's his name, Phuket. That's his name, yeah, Phuket. Anyway, he sent me a video saying a trucker sees a large convoy escorting a truck carrying a strange craft. This is very interesting. There's no photos of it, but there are images of... Oh, yeah, I've not looked at that yet. Thanks for sending me that, Phuket. Fuck it, whatever you're called. That's interesting. I'll spread that around. Alan Gildia. Nice one, Ben. I enjoy your insights and speculation. Here's some nice glass of whiskey. To your health and happiness, sir. Thanks, Alan. I did have a bit of whiskey. It was nice. Projects Black said, nice one, Ben. Right, I'm off to re-perm my microphone. That's his hair. Yeah, now Robert Blockaway replies to that. The Roswell incident will never go away, and Mexico is a hotbed for UFO sightings. All makes sense to me. Though the Roswell incident is the holy grail of UFO phenomena, the sighting that started it all off was the Kenneth Arnold report some months earlier. Anyone that is really interested in this phenomenon must read the details of his account and report of the prospector that witnessed the same craft. Pay close attention to Arnold's drawings of the craft. They're not saucer-shaped at all. I believe that both incidents are very real. Sure, they got a lot of attention from the military at the time. That's true. Kenneth Arnold's sightings, which happened in June of 1947, really triggered the entry of UFOs into the mass media, into the mass public consciousness, and they entered very quickly and very dramatically. They became a household name, really, within days. Contrary to popular belief, this is not... UFOs were seen before then. In fact, there are photographs of... There's a special website that specialises in pre-1940s UFO photos, and there were lots of them. UFOs existed, and they were being seen by people. In fact, there's Renaissance paintings that show them, even cave paintings thousands of years old. There's the Book of Ezekiel in the Bible, which is probably the world's oldest UFO contact report. So UFOs have always been around. They just entered the public consciousness at that time. And he's right about the craft. The craft were actually crescent-shaped. There was some misunderstanding with the newspapers, and they reported them as saucers. But they were actually crescent-shaped, the ones that Arnold saw. Wow, the trailer looks groundbreaking, says Daniel Bostock. Dan, it does. Though I've got a feeling we're not going to see the actual film now. I don't really think I don't want to see it, to be honest. Sith Lord UK says, first of all, Ben, I'm sorry to take the piss out of you, mate. Your bald head and your weight, small-minded people, pal. Now, the slides at the end of the day, buddy, they're just photos. They can't prove if there's an alien or there's not one. It could be a dummy. The event tomorrow is useless unless an alien walks onto stage and says greetings. Nothing major is going to happen. You know, thing is, I feel a bit nostalgic, Sith, because that was the thoughts that were going through my head, and now, in the light of experience, it's just, it hardly matters. It's like, those were the days when the possibility, you know, was there that it could be real, and oh dear. I mean, as I said, I was hoping that it would not be proved to be a fake, at least, and then we could maybe explore the possibility it was real and do some extra research. That's now not going to happen. Oh, pardon me. You guys are keeping me up. Right, Jack Reaper. I agree, Ben. My concerns about the slides are the same as yours. I just asked the question, so what? Now what do we do? They can't prove anything. This whole Mexico thing looks like a hoopla to make money. Sorry, but I'm a cynic. I won't be paying to watch the stream. I'll watch the highlights for free. Well, yeah, I don't know about making money. Maybe they try to make money off it. But I think this was something that Jack wrote before Tuesday night. And so, in the light of experience, he ends the post, but we shall see, Ben, we shall see. We did, didn't we? We did see. Michael Purcell says, lol, Ben, just had to leave this one comment. I hope you find it funny, lad. You did another video not long ago doing the same thing with a wine bottle and a nose. I'm guessing someone got it before the aliens arrived. No, it's not taking a dig, buddy. I love all your research. Keep the videos coming, laddie. Thanks, Marcel. I will. Yeah, you're talking about my disclosure champagne. Yeah, I hope I get to drink that one day. Tiberius Kirk says, great prelude to the event. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Tiberius Kirk. Also, you sent me some things. This is just a little preview of a video that's coming soon, and that's a video of me at my lecture in Watford, which I talked about previously, and Tiberius Kirk filmed it. So thanks, Tiberius Kirk. Richie 3D says, I think your channel's brilliant, Ben. Thanks, mate. I personally can't let Richard Dolan off the hook. He was until 3 days ago a personal hero of mine, but the hubris and backpedaling, especially on Fade to Black last night, was awful. I've not watched that Fade to Black yet. I'd have to see that. Quick to blame Coast, etc. That's Coast to Coast. And even after the whole fiasco, posted on Facebook this. Let's have a look. I think I've seen this. Yeah, this is the thing I was talking about. Okay. I get you. Yeah, thank God for Nick Redfern, who smelt a rat way back. Well, Nick didn't actually say or anything really. He just took the line that it's probably nothing. I'm an experiencer. That's all I'm willing to divulge. Fair enough. And learnt long ago not to get sucked into the rock star of ufology cult. Being educated and well spoken and able to quote ufological lore verbatim is a great skill. Add to that charisma, and there's a danger of hubris. I feel more at home with Richard D. Hall and Timothy Good, more now than ever. Read more. Take care, Richie. He lives in Oxfordshire, so hopefully I'll meet up with him sometime. Yeah, I like Richard D. Hall and Timothy Good as well. They're excellent, and they're much more. They are more level-headed than some. But now, based on what I said about Richard Dolan, I stand by. But I've not heard him on Fade to Black yet. I will have a listen to that, Richie, and see if maybe if what you said about Richard Dolan is true. And then he posts this is just 7 hours ago, and he's basically thanks Richie, he's given me the information I've been talking about when it comes to the plaque being deciphered. So yeah, cheers Richie. The Starfucker again, that's his name, Starfucker. So, as predicted, the Roswell slides are faked. Yeah, and he talks about. Basically, he again is informing me of this information that we've had. It's all going round now. It's all going round the net. So yeah, it won't take long. It didn't take long to spread. It came out sort of yesterday evening, and I picked it up this morning. Oya says, "I'm watching the video now. We'll comment later. As usual, well done, Ben. Your very interesting work. Please do not put up with people who put you down. Don't thank rudeness, and I cannot see why anyone would. As you to wake up. Ludicrous. Yeah. Thanks, Oya." I think she meant, because I said earlier on, thanks for all the comments, even the bitchy ones I said on the last video. I think I can give as good as I get. Anyone who is abusive or rude towards me gets it back. So, in a sense, that's how I don't feel hurt by this. I'm a big, ugly ex-hospital porter, and I find it quite amusing, that's what I'm saying. But obviously I would not tolerate any defamatory statements. If it went over the top, I would delete that person and block them, and I have done that to people. Also, if they attacked you or any other person posting in the group, I would immediately deal with them then, because you might not feel the same way as I do. So I promise you that. Is Randall Mr. King Flag, says Capharism. I think that's Kevin Randall. Who's Mr. King Flag? King's Flag. Ian Bennett, thanks for sharing. Capharism. I hope it will be a Kodak moment. I think that's a reference to. I think that is a reference to. that advert that used to be on. Pain and Death to the New World Order has shared on Google. Thank you very much. So is Christopher Morland. Thanks, Chris. Alright, here we go, yeah. And also Chris Truthseeker is there somewhere. Chris Truthseeker's left a comment. There's no reply button. I've already emailed him about this, but if you post a comment and there's no reply button underneath of it, so people can't reply to you, it's possible you won't be able to see that in your account, but other people will. So if someone says that to you, if someone says there's no reply button, check your YouTube settings. It's possible that you've got yourself down as not having any replies. So thanks for all the comments, ladies and gentlemen, and Oya, they were all polite this time. No rude ones this time. Let us continue with this little report. There's more to come. It's exciting, isn't it?
Now, this little tableau has been doing the rounds on Facebook. In Loving Memory, Ufology, 1947 to 2015. This, of course, means that the incident with the slides is so terrible that it effectively has destroyed this field of study. Now, that's an exaggeration. I don't think what's happened with the slides has any bearing on the rest of UFO research. If you have watched these slides and you feel as disappointed as I do, and you think, well, maybe if this is fake, it means the Roswell incident never happened, or the Rendlesham Forest incident was just a lighthouse. Okay, think again. It doesn't. It is a disaster. It's a catastrophe, but it's one we can recover from. And there may even actually be something else going on, which is extremely sinister, and if so, then it needs to be exposed. There is yet another twist to this story that I'd like to talk to you about before we finish. Now, I've already mentioned, and we've gone over the issues connected to the fact that the Roswell slides were unveiled on the 20th anniversary of the alien autopsy film. And I also said earlier in the film that there might be some issues connected with that. Now, as I've said before, it's probably a coincidence. The 5th of May is a big public holiday in Mexico. It may have been something to do with that. But could something else be going on? Something a bit more sinister? Something we need to keep an eye on. Now, this here is a blog article written by me, which I wrote a few months ago, and I want you to go away and read it. This is your homework, ladies and gentlemen. Bring it back to me Monday morning with your full report. Now, but I mean, I'll probably do an entire video about this one subject actually next time. But this is an article I wrote called Area 51 Alien Interview New Research. Now, it refers to I got together with a guy called Andrew Burlington, who's a friend of mine now, and he's done a lot of research on a video which very fewer people have heard of. Now, the alien autopsy film is world famous. There was a movie made out of it with Anton Deck, if you remember. Everyone knows about it. It's everywhere. But what happened was the following year, another film was released, a less well-known film, which was very similar in theme. Now, I think basically, if you said alien autopsy to anybody after the alien autopsy film was released, almost everyone would just think of the Santilli film. But during that entire media fame, fortune and furore, something else happened that received a fraction of the publicity, and today it is virtually unknown outside the UFO community. On Friday, July the 26th, 1995, more than a year after the alien autopsy film was released, a man phoned the Los Angeles offices of Rocket Pictures, a film and TV production company, and claimed to be in possession of a VHS cassette containing taped footage of an extraterrestrial being. This man called himself Victor. He refused to give any further names about himself. I think we could probably guess Victor's not his real name. Rocket Pictures asked to see the tape, and Victor sent them a copy, not the original. So they watched it, and they asked Victor if he would be willing to be interviewed, and he agreed, but he demanded very stringent protocols. He went to extraordinary lengths to conceal his identity. He wore a wig and a mask over his face. He was shot in silhouette, and he used a sound modulator to disguise his voice. He also insisted that the interview be scripted, and he actually got arsey and walked out when they deviated from the script, and he had to approve that script first. And what he said was he had been present at Area 51 a short time before that. He wouldn't say what his job there was there, just that he had cause to, or whether he was an employee, contractor, visitor, whatever. He just said he had cause to be present on the base for whatever reason, which is really quite amazing. He gives a few details about how he managed to get hold of the recording. What he said was that he just said that the film archive was being transferred from videotape to digital disc, and during the process, some of it was inadvertently mislaid in the incorrect data system, and he managed to get hold of it. The film is silent, but Victor said it did have a soundtrack. He's removed the soundtrack because he's concerned that it could disclose the identities of the people featured. If you look at, you get it on YouTube. They made a documentary about it. Just put in an interview with an alien. I'll put a link in the description box of this article I wrote. And it basically is just that, an interview with an alien. There's all kinds of features about it, which I won't go into. It's all in the article, where I sort of describe the thing in great detail. But according to Victor, it takes place at S4, where Bob Lazar was, and basically they're basically trying to ask this alien questions through telepathy. They need a psychically sensitive person, and they ask it questions through telepathy. Now, the response was negligible outside the world of the UFOs and conspiratorial interest groups. Alien Autopsy was enjoying the limelight, as well as having to endure this burgeoning skepticism, which people like Philip Mantle were quite rightly subjecting it to. Now, it didn't take long actually for the Alien Autopsy for its cards to fall to the table and for it to be exposed as a hoax. People like Philip Mantle and others did sterling work in that respect. Very, very quickly they found all the background to it, the special effects designer who'd been employed, things like that. Now, the similar research was done into the alien interview, and it failed to turn up any clues. This is the really strange thing. They shook the tree, nothing came out. So it's totally different from the Alien Autopsy in that respect. That, I think, is important. And Andrew Burlington, this friend of mine, he's done some additional research into it as well, which is very important, which I describe in the article, and put links to his YouTube channel. Now, some people said it's a glove puppet. Well, they managed to enhance, some research has been done to enhance the lighting of the film, and there's no sign of any operator of the glove puppet. There's no sign of any marionette strings, even though there are people moving around this creature, which would interfere with marionette strings. There's none there. And there's no confessions, and this is very important. Okay, once people like Philip Mantle turned their prying eyes on the autopsy, John Humphreys, the special effects designer, was traced. He'd worked on it. The butcher who supplied the meat that made up the dummy's innards was found. The guy called Spyros Malaris came forward and said that he funded and organised the whole enterprise. So pretty quickly it was worked out that the alien autopsy was faked. But let's compare that, okay? Shall we imagine for a moment the alien interview was also faked? Why has the same not happened? The making of such a production would have been at least as intricate and expensive and demanding as the Santilli film. So, because there's more people in it for a start. The dummy also moves around. I mean, it was really, they'd have to find a rich investor to fund the project, a location big enough to build a studio, and secluded so it wouldn't arouse suspicion from the neighbours. The designers for the puppets, that's a very elaborate affair. This one had to move, it had to have animatronic fittings. There were various props around the area, or the costumes for the actors, Victor's disguises, medical uniforms, etc. All these things would have been a part of it. They'd have had to rehearse, they'd have had to done a number of takes to get it right. A considerable number of people were involved in this if it was fake. So why have none of them spoken out? I mean, just think about you know how lucrative the "I fooled the world" meme is. I mean, it set Santilli and Shoefield up for life. So whoever worked on this is sitting on a gold mine. I mean, if I was a special effects designer, I'd want something like that on my CV, and I'd be tempted to brag about it late at night if I was in a drunken party or something. Special effects industry, it's a small community. People know each other. Could they really keep a secret like this? Nothing has come out about the alien interview except stunned, dumb, curious silence. Lots of investigations, not a single clue has been so much as glimpsed that this might be a hoax. In fact, all the research so far leads in the other direction, towards the likelihood that the video is genuine, and it really is a film of an alien that was smuggled out of Area 51. Well, this is quite something, isn't it? The video is mute, enigmatic, provoking. Now this is an interesting thing. This is the interesting point. This is where it fits in with the Roswell slides. What I mean is disinformation. What would be the purpose? What's the purpose of disinformation? I suppose I theorise in this article that it's that the alien autopsy film was a piece of disinformation. If it wasn't made for that reason, it was streamlined to success and its path to publicity because it happened to be the right kind of material to use as disinformation. Now, what's the point of it? The point is to distract and repel people from the alien interview and possibly some of the other real alien videos that are out there. So how would it work? Now, listen, if you just pretend for a moment that the alien autopsy film had never existed. And if that was the case, then the chances are that the interview would have received far more attention from the media and from the public. But instead it was drowned out by the clamour of hype surrounding the autopsy. The patently bogus and fake alien autopsy film. This is an important thing. But as that came out, right, the thing was, it was exposed as a fake alien autopsy, and but at that moment when it was exposed as a fake, it was demolished under the floodlights and TV cameras of the world. That's a very important cultural and psychological concept that is being implanted in the collective human mind. And it's a very simple equation. Alien video equals fake video. So by the time the alien interview actually came out and it was published by Rocket Pictures, the documentary, the few people who did see it in the general population would have turned away without a second look. They'd have said something like, it's okay, it's just another of those silly contrived space alien things. Students make them, you know. Switch over to the football, will you? The people of the world could have had access to something really interesting and probably genuine. And instead they got this transparent farce of a rubber mannequin filled with offal. So this is the thing. So was the alien autopsy released a year before the interview somehow connected? Is it possible that whoever kept the secret of the alien interview knew that these things had gone missing and so decided to preempt the possibility that they might emerge by creating a fake video, a fake alien video with enormous publicity, or either creating a fake video, as I said, or finding someone who made one of them, and streamlining his path to publicity? Is it possible that they knew that before Victor came forward that he had absconded with one of these videos, one of these films? They would have feared exactly what was about to happen and taken precautionary steps to mitigate the impact. Now, we don't know how long Victor's been sitting on this secret. Okay, maybe more than a year, but I suspect that the autopsy might have been made to specifically cover up the interview, and maybe others as well, other real alien videos as well. They knew, for instance, Russia in particular is relevant here because the Soviet Union was disbanded in December 1991. The KGB, its famous intelligence services, was closed down forever. And the authorities knew very well within the KGB's vaults lay millions of highly classified files relating to sensitive subjects like UFOs. And they knew very well that the hemorrhage of these files was impossible to stop in the chaos of the transition to the new Russia, Yeltsin and Putin's Russia. And all that information would end up on the black market, where anyone could get hold of an alien video for the right price. So the motivation for the alien autopsy might have been to head that problem off at the pass. Do you see where I'm going with this? Is it possible that this is a disinformation exercise? This whole business to do with the Roswell slides is a similar disinformation exercise. I've already spoken to a guy. I've spoken to a couple of people privately about this, and they think it seems to be quite they seem to be quite favourable to that idea. That means that we must be on the lookout for any possible other UFO photos that emerge, because they might be the real ones. And the Roswell slides were created in order to discredit them, to discredit these real pictures that might be about to emerge, that may have been stolen maybe a few months ago or something, or last year, and they're about to come out. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I want to leave it. I want to leave that possibility with you, that is what is actually going on. Who knows? We'll find out. Anyway, I'm going to make another video on the subject of UFO Disclosure 2015 very soon. And there's lots more to cover. It's not over by any means. Just because the Roswell slides is over, it doesn't mean the issue is over. It doesn't mean we can't get disclosure in 2015. It's possible that the Roswell slides are a part of the attempt to shut down any disclosure process going on, as I said. But we'll find out sooner or later. I will be back with another installment in this series of films, UFO Disclosure 2015. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, if those of you who did watch. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, stop the New World Order.